All right, welcome, welcome. If you're new here, I'm so glad you came to join us, and I hope you find this to be just a really good use of your time. If you've been here before, of course, welcome back. If you're watching on YouTube, go to the description and grab the handout for this session so you can follow along. And if this kind of legal technology talk is helpful, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos on legal technology talk. All right, Beth, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about saying yes more often now. I want to clarify something that I just actually popped into my head. We often talk about being a yes person, the person that says yes to everything. That's not what we're talking about today. Um, we're not talking about the general say yes to everything and don't have any thought behind it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about your firm being able to say yes more often, and getting that out there. So I want to start with a question. How many times this week have you had the potential to say, have you had to say no, rather, to a potential new client or a new opportunity? How many times? In the legal industry, we have a gatekeeping problem. Most firms are built on a foundation of friction. We say no, not because we don't want the business, but because our manual processes can't handle the risk, the volume, the technical load. We act as the process police rather than the growth partners. Today, we're going to talk about a fundamental shift. We're moving from a culture of gatekeeping to a culture of growth. And we're going to explore the system's first philosophy, building a structural foundation that allows your firm to say yes and say it with confidence. So think about your firm like a building. In most traditional firms, the staff's trying to hold up the roof with their bare hands. It's called technical load, the data entry, the document drafting, the endless follow-up. Those are all things that are needed and are holding up the building. If your humans are busy holding up the roof, they can't focus on everything else that's going on. In our world, all of that is the empathy, the strategy, the client experience, the creative lawyering that actually wins cases. So our goal is to let the architecture, our tech ecosystem, bear the weight. So we're using Lawmatics Gavel Decision Vault as our steel beams. When the system handles a load, your team is finally free to focus on the human experience. So the first beam in all of this is the intake engine, Lawmatics. The yes firm never lets a lead go cold. We use Lawmatics for an instant response mastery. The second a lead hits your site, the engine starts. We aren't just sending a thanks for reaching out email. We're deploying automated intake workflows. So what does this mean? Now, luckily, we actually have this on our website, and you can access this through our Facebook. We have a Facebook ad. Potential client sees your ad on a Facebook page and clicks it. They end up on a landing page on your website, and they fill in all their information. And then they immediately get an email, text message, and a white paper on the practice area they've selected that they need help with. The email includes clear instructions on how to schedule a meeting. It's right here. There's links to schedule and download and give them all of the things. Then they're into a nurture follow-up campaign where Lawmatics is following up with them at no extra labor from you. Now, there's some things coming soon from Lawmatics. It will streamline this even more. But here's where you start, and those things will work a little similar to this. But this is really where you get that. You start that. Let's start from scratch. Let's grab someone clicking on a Facebook ad and getting that directly into our Lawmatics and starting that follow-up and doing all of those things. Ideally, they would then schedule, and then you would have them right on the calendar, and you'd start right into a meeting. Very straightforward. So you can use Lawmatics to validate your qualified cases immediately. Again, this is something that's getting an upgrade in Lawmatics, and their Qualify AI is pretty spectacular. But we can also do this by asking some pointed questions, either in your web form or in your intake, and building automations off those answers. If someone contacts you a practice area that you don't practice, you can send them an email with referrals to an attorney that does. Lawmatics can record all of this and move them to referred out, and you've captured the data and not used any labor at all to do that. If a potential client contacts you for a service that you do provide, Lawmatics can run them through the client acquisition process and into your pipeline, which brings us to another area. A clear and clean pipeline is essential to this. Ease of seeing all your cases in the pipeline and knowing where they are at in the process and what that means is critical in being confident to say yes. When they're spread all over the place and you're really not quite sure what your whole load is and what you can take on, it really makes saying yes a little unclear. Multiple intake pipelines, confusing drip campaigns, and unclear pathways of where things go lead to that overwhelming feeling that just makes you want to say no. The same is true for automations. If you don't understand what the automations do, it's hard to trust them. Being able to see what they do easily allows you to trust them to do their job. An example of this is if you have a form, and when the form is filled out, multiple things can happen depending on the responses in that form, right? That's a very common like automation. What we see sometimes is that there will be, if there's 10 different responses that are possible off that form, there's 10 different automations. That's confusing if you need to update anything, if you need to change anything. The system should be easy to make changes and make improvements to. But when you have to figure out which one of those 10 automations are the ones that are actually doing something, that makes it really difficult. So using your if else conditions like this in automations to direct into different things is really helpful. But where does all that information come from? So traditionally, we spend hours on chasing clients for info and then hand typing it into our system. But Decision Vault works to bridge that gap. And that's about client empowerment. We give the client a seamless portal where they enter the data. But the magic isn't just the portal, it's their single source of truth. That data syncs into Lawmatics and drafting software. There's no double entry, there's no typos unless your client has done the typo. And there's 0 hours of staff time spent entering data from a PDF into a CRM or a drafting software. So once we have the data, we have to execute. This is where most firms hit a wall. Drafting complex document is a slow, prone to error, relies on a senior attorney's brain. Enter Gavel by using the branching logic and all of the setup and integration into Decision Vault and using their design meeting templates that you can see a 90% reduction in drafting time. We take the technical load of a senior attorney's expertise and we bake it into a system logic. Instead of copying and pasting from an old word templates and even worse, WordPerfect, this system asks the right questions and generates a document. It allows the firm to handle high volume, high complexity work without hiring 10 more people. It's in the engine. And that's where our 90% comes from, because you're putting all of that in there and you are allowing then those things to happen very quickly. What that looks like is your client enters the information. The attorney enters additional information and makes choices. And then that goes on into your Gavel setup, which uses all of that and builds that into your complex logic, pops out your documents, and all that knowledge is all embedded in that system. So you might be thinking, yeah, if we say yes to everything fast, won't we make mistakes? Well, actually, the opposite is true. Automated systems provide guardrails. We build hard boundaries that flag things outside of our risk appetite. We're creating institutional memory. The firm no longer depends on whether a specific paralegal remembers a rule. Logic's built into the framework, and the system doesn't have bad days or forgetful Mondays or horrible Fridays where you're thinking of getting to the weekend and then forget half the stuff you're going to do. So when you build all that in there, your risk management actually goes down because those guardrails are in place. And everyone knows what those guardrails are, and you don't have to wonder if it's outside of that or in that. And there's also ways to handle that if you don't know what that is, how to very simply handle getting that information to an attorney or someone else to ask those questions. You can build that into your system as well. And then we have to look at the scoreboard. How do we know that our yes is working? So we use Power BI to visualize our growth, and that helps us move beyond gut feelings. This is actual numbers because you have to have numbers. You can go, oh, I feel I'm doing well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing well. We can see exactly what happened to our leads from last week. We had 56 people contact us. 19 of them scheduled into a consultation, 41 of them scheduled into a workshop. We can know that information very clearly, and we know what happened with those. Are our workshops producing results? Where are the conversion rates from the workshop to engagement? All of those things. Where do our conversion rates need some help? Where are the potential clients falling out of your process? This data gives us a strategic ability to make instant and confident scaling decisions. When the data says the system is holding the load, you can just keep building higher and keep going. And that's really what it's about, but you have to know your numbers. Um, I, I'll give you an example of this. I had someone who is doing some additional number conversion, pulling in timesheets and everything else, and contacted me about Power BI and adding that into their Power BI. And I'll tell you this, she was spending about 2 to 3 hours a week putting that information together. And it's now in a normal upload that takes about a minute to get that information. So while that information was very important to them and they really wanted to see that, being able to grab that and look at that and know, how all of that was in place, and if they needed to make any changes, where they needed to throw extra help, instead of spending those hours getting that information, it can just upload and grab it and give them all the information they need. So all of those things are possible when you have the right tools in place. So in a legacy firm, manual work slows down the process. It makes scaling up to a very stressful thought. How many new intake personnel do I need? Do I need another paralegal? What am I going to do when Pam goes on vacation? All these thoughts in the back of your mind make it harder to say yes, because there's a lot of places where you're unsure of what is going to happen. But an automated firm allows you to say yes easily, as the tech does the heavy lifting. So let's look at another way that that happens. And another thing that you can put in place. Using a results form allows quick and easy presentation and entry of data for a meeting. This is an example, simple example, but it works very efficiently. This form gets sent to the meeting host before the meeting. It contains data entered from the online form or from the intake call. It also contains all the data that the client entered in the decision vault questionnaire. It has a spot at the end to enter the outcome of the meeting. Some even have the ability to schedule the next meeting if needed, or send the agreement directly to the client. The automation behind it handles that, moving the matter in the pipeline, sending follow-ups, creating tasks, or any other thing that needs to be done. That stops that after meeting debrief that you need to have with someone so that they know to do things. that takes time from everybody's day. And this allows that to go simply through and move things and keep everything going. And so instead of saying, if I do 4 more consultations a day, I'm going to take another 45 minutes to an hour of Pam's time because she needs to do things after that meeting. Now it doesn't matter because Pam doesn't need to do anything after the meeting. All of this goes in, things happen. Now you can add 4 consultations to the day without impacting everybody in the firm. So how do you get here? Well, it's a 4-step roadmap. You build your intake and client onboarding. We showed you some tools today to get that in place, but don't be locked in the status quo. Investigate every process for the possibility of automating that in place. Enable Decision Vault to reduce the client data entry. Stop entering the same data over and over. And again, if you're going to scale up, you need a system to do that, or you need to add people to it. And automate the documents using Gavel to generate your documents the way you want them. And then know your numbers. Know your numbers so you know where to make improvements and you know where you might need some help and where things are running off the rails. So really, a firm that can say yes more often is a firm that can grow without limits. But remember, you have to build that engine before you can race the car. Now, it doesn't mean that sometimes you're racing and you need to adjust. You can do that as well. That's what pit stops are for. Making those adjustments, adding things to the car to get a little more speed, a little better handling around the corner, all of those types of things, those happen, and that's what we're talking about. And let the systems handle the load. So you and your team can say yes without the voice in the back of your head wondering, how is that going to happen? Because when you know that your technology can handle it, you can say, sure, we can add 4 consultations to a week and we can add this many new cases. And because we know that the tech is there to handle it, the engine is going to keep running, and we don't need to add 20 people into our firm just to do that. And I'm sure John has some um, comments on this. John?
I do. Just a couple. I was just writing one. One of the biggest wins that I'm hearing out of this is you that you can implement is client clarity while trusting your system is doing its job. Making the
Correct.
system do what it needs to do. And we always say it's the silent employee. And if your tech employee, such as your practice management system or CRM, is not doing its job, fire that employee.
Correct.
If you have a human employee that would be doing that work at such a poor efficiency, that person would be fired. Don't be afraid to fire your systems, no matter what it is. Don't hang on to it just because it's the status quo. And you talked about the 90% reduction in drafting time. That literally means that for every one you did before, you can now do 10. That capacity
Correct.
increase is massive. And you get the documents which are consistent. So the attorney can trust the documents and review only the parts that are specific to that client's wishes and goals, which increases their or decreases their review time. The other one is gut feelings. You talked about it, and I always like to add on to this. They are so deceiving. There's a lot of times in life you're like, oh, my gut is saying this. I'm not saying disregard that because in that case, it's true. But when there is quantified data or quantifiable data that you can look at, that's when you don't worry about what your gut is telling you, disregard that, and just go to the numbers. We had a firm that said their conversion to engagement was amazing. And we have a lot of attorneys saying this kind of thing. And it turns out what it was at 27%, and they were all qualified leads. We learned it was the expectations prior were not being set, and the approach and the presentation in the consultation was wrong. They fixed that and they increased their number. They didn't fix it before because their gut said that it was good. When you put the numbers in, then reality can come into play, and then you can actually do the real work of fixing it. Saving all this time to say yes are also it also lets you offer more add-ons for your services. Gun trust, pet trust, special needs trust, ancillary document, all of this. Um, and you can do it more easily. And it's instant revenue increase without increasing the caseload for anyone or time spent. You've just added potentially thousands of dollars to a plan that you weren't comfortable offering those ancillary docs or other plan options with their legal work before. So for the same 3 hours of meetings, your three meetings, an hour each, you're doing the same work, but you just got more revenue from it because you can handle those other documents that people have been wanting, but you weren't comfortable adding more work. Force yourself to break out of the box. If you're thinking about something, there is a clear path. That's inside the box. And even if there is a clear path, get outside the box and just look at it from a different angle. And it might be the right answer, but there may be a more creative, better way. Um, you tell yourself you want to get out of the box, but that wall is built so high that you can't get out of the box for a new creative solution. AI chats are really good for this because they don't have those barriers that you have. It may be wild answers, but that's what's getting you out of the box. It's going to get you onto a different path because you're stuck on this train and you just can't step to the right to see a different view. Um, but this also means working in legacy manual CRMs and practice management systems. There are better solutions. The tech is there and time saved. We've had firms hire someone who does nothing more than consultations because the firm can now handle that number of consultations. And from the start of the day till the end of the day, 5 days a week, that is all they're doing is in meetings and consultations and engaging people and keeping the engagement pipeline moving while the intake team is keeping the follow-up and potential client pipeline full. That is an engine. You're keeping the oil in the motor and you're keeping gas in the tank. So on both ends, you just have this steady flow that just keeps moving through. That's what I have, Beth.
Awesome. And I wanted to let you know that you can try that form and see how smoothly that works, because you can go to ettingertech.com/marketing demo. And there it is. And yes, John got our new website up and it's beautiful. But this is a form where you can try, or you can start out from our Facebook page and get there and see how this works and how it can work in your firm to really increase that input into uh your intake and increase traffic into your firm and let it do the heavy lifting.
Absolutely. And Beth, while you're here, do you want to do the official announcement of this and just show around for a minute? We launched this last night. This is available to you when you go to ettingertech.com. New logo,
Okay.
new brand, and it
It
is
is a
very
new,
focused on you. So go ahead, Beth.
yeah, so this is the new website. It has a lot of information in it. Talks about us, talks about our why high growth firms um are using these systems. And then you have a lot of things in here, your access to your portal, file upload, and a let's chat. You can schedule, you can contact us here. It has our team bios here, a little bit more about us, and information about the platforms that we support. That all of these are in here, our decision vault. and Gavel. So if you're interested in any of those, it does have the information in there for that. Um, and then our goal setting tool is available here, so that you can get that calculator and use that automation calculator. How much can automation save your firm? There, we have a tool for that. Our open coaching, the video library from all of our past sessions is all in here. And where our reading list is here. Oh, and I forgot, right there is the marketing tracking demo. John did put it in here. So right there is how you get there. We have a lot of information in here. There's a lot of stuff that will be coming soon, some more services and things like that. But there you go. That is the new website. Beautiful.
Yeah. And if you have things that you're interested in that would help you, please let us know because the get results menu, that really is for you. Everything in here is you focused. The free education with open coaching, all the video trainings and coaching, the calculators, books that we recommend that you can just buy right from our website, um, learning about how the marketing works. And then Trusted Partners is coming soon. I'm really excited about it. I have most of it done. If you have, if you're like, I need a website designer or I need somebody to help us with funding, whatever it may be, that is what's going to relay our trusted partners, and you can find the services you need, and you can know that they're reputable because we've worked with them. We know their reputation. So that is coming soon, where you can find other partners with services that we don't offer. And then the open coaching page. This just shows what's coming next. So you can now go on there and see it. It is up to date. And then little sneak peeks underneath, you can see on the bottom that there's no open coaching on Friday, April 3rd, for Good Friday. And on here, you can add these to your calendar. We wanted it to be so easy. So you can click on those little buttons that say add to my calendar, and you can put the events on there. It's going to put the Zoom link. It's going to put the description. So you'll have all that information. So we just wanted this to be about you um, and for you. So.
I do want to point out one thing while we have this here is this is laid out for our future sessions. But the one thing that I do want to tell you is that some of this will be changing. Lawmatics is rolling out some improvements to Lawmatics. If you've seen the stuff in the past couple in their presentation this week, and as soon as those roll out, we are going to drop everything and show you how to use them. So some of this may be moving around topics and things for that in that uh, upcoming process.
Yep. So yeah, go play
Okay.
around on the new website. Let us know anything that would help you because we want to make this you centric. What can help you, whether as somebody that is not a client, we want to have tools for you. If you are a client, we want to have tools for you. So
Yeah.
awesome. All right. So now we are going to go into our open Q&A. So before we wrap this up, just a quick note for anyone watching on YouTube that we always stop the recording here and then open it up for live Q&A. That part isn't recorded so people can ask real questions and talk through real situations. So if you want to be a part of that conversation, we do this live every Friday at noon Eastern. It's free, and the link to join is in the description.